anterior muscle of the spinal cord. It acts on the anterior muscles of the spinal cord. Right? Normally what happens, the anterior muscle, it is sending the curve, it's sending a motor curve to the muscle. Right? To the muscle. So whenever the impulse coming out through this motor curve, what happens? There will be muscle contraction. There will be muscle contraction. But the problem is, the anterior muscle should not be excessively stimulate the muscle, right? The spinal cord. And otherwise, you should have some kind of control over the anterior muscle. Where is the control? Whenever the anterior muscle is sending a stimulus to this motor curve will send another collateral. This collateral aids in another cell. This cell is called as Renshaw cell. Right? This cell is called Renshaw cell, and this Renshaw cell is basically what happens. This Renshaw cell is giving another EV moving on the anterior muscle. Right? What happens whenever the anterior muscle is stimulating the motor curve, right? Whenever it is stimulating the muscle, it is also simultaneously stimulating the Renshaw cell. Right? But when the Renshaw cell is getting stimulated, whenever the Renshaw cell is stimulated, in the independent anterior muscle, one secreting what is called as KNC. Right? So this is very good. I say pretty good as well as like. So this is basically a negative feedback mechanism so that you have a control of the stimulus going on to the muscle. You have a control stimulus feedback. This is physiology. But what happens in your transformative always think whenever the person ingests extra transformative, right? Whenever the extra transformative coming into the picture, it inhibits the Renshaw cell itself. Or it inhibits the glycine. Right? When you inhibit the glycine, what is lost? The control of the anterior muscle is lost. The control of anterior muscle is lost. So what happens? The anterior muscle control is lost. It is released from the control. We call this as release excitation. When the control is lost, there's release excitation of the anterior muscle, then the excessive fluid of the muscle, it will result in contraction. Right? It will result in excessive contraction, finally it will result in what is called as conversion. The person like that. But since the person is having excessive muscle conversion, we can also say that this is the poisoning it resembles tetanus. This is the poisoning it resembles tetanus to the liver. We've already seen oxalic acid poisoning. We've already seen oxalic acid poisoning that resembles tetanus, but this is what we see that resembles tetanus. Right? So this is the mechanism of the toxicity in us. Now let's go forward. Right? Now what are the key features of this vaccine system that we will get from this film? Right? In this patient, we have the finding that we can see. See, this transforming hydrogen on contrast sheet is also preferred. The system is very different. The patient will have after customers. But what happens when there is typical control system looked at, what is the conscious seizures is the most characteristic feature of this transforming poisoning. Conscious seizures. The patient will be absolutely conscious when he's conversing because the transforming current does not cross the blood barrier. It is not going to affect the consciousness. The patient will be absolutely conscious, needing by what is happening with the conscious seizures is one characteristic feature. Right, so let us talk about the characteristic feature of this conversions produced by transforming poisoning. Right, I told you it produces a lot of conversions. Let us assume that this is the base of conversions. The muscle is in the base of conversion. After some time, it goes for relaxation. The muscle is completely relaxed. The muscle is completely relaxed. Then again, after some time, the conversions will start again. Here, the conversions will be even longer. Right, and what happens again? It stays. There is a phase of relaxation. There is a phase of relaxation. But again, another phase where the conversions will start. Like this, maybe continuous immediate conversion is starting in 10 minutes. The patient will die. Patient will die. But what you have to understand is, in the two phases of conversion, you can see the muscle is completely relaxed. Muscle is completely relaxed. That is a very important feature of prevention of tetanus and transforming poisoning. In tetanus, you don't see this kind of thing. In between the muscle, muscle is completely relaxed in case of transforming. That is one important point. Another important point that we have to notice, using each episode of conversions, the duration of the conversions is equally increasing, the relaxation is equally right? In between the phase of conversions, if whenever you have subsequent conversions, continuous conversion, in every phase, the duration of the conversions is equally increasing, the relaxation is equally increasing. Finally, this is that. Okay? As I told you, the patient will become absolutely like patient will be absolutely conscious and all the muscles are being working here. All the muscles are being worked. Right? There is no sequence in normal independence. All the muscles are completely worked. Right? So what are the features that you can see in the person? You can see what is called as plexus sonoricus. Plexus sonoricus is basically due to facial muscle spasm. Right? You can see sonoricus, it's like basically sonoricus spine. Okay? Spine of granny. Right? What they say? How does it appear? It will appear like this. It will appear like this. You can see the eyebrows are elevated, eyebrows will be put from you can see the limitation muscle spasm, the angle of the mouth is elevated. You can see this is a typical sonoricus spine that is plexus sonoricus. Plexus sonoricus. Right, so it is basically the spine of right? Right. So you can see that is seen with this particular patient. That is seen with this particular patient. Now, what are the other features that you can see? You have the important spine portion. Number one, you have what is called as opisthoscopus. You have what is called as opisthoscopus, where there is hyper extension of the spine. Right? Hyper extension of the spine. Hyper extension of the spine. The patient will be operated. That happens to be the most common dose. Right? The next dose is your epiprosthodonus. What is this epiprosthodonus? Epiprosthodonus is followed by hyperflexion. Hyperflexion of spines. Hyperflexion of the body. Okay, so that is what epiprosthodonus. And the last one is opisthoscopus, where there is lateral bending. Opisthoscopus, where there is lateral bending. Right? So that is what opisthoscopus, epiprosthodonus, and opisthoscopus. We have three tonus, and also told you that it is the most common tonus, and most common tonus is your opisthoscopus. The person dies because of subsequent muscle spasm, continuous muscle spasm, muscle conversion, and the person dies. Okay, suppose if the person dies, right? Patient first for the patient was treatment, right? What you can do is your main thing is to control the conversions, control all the conversions. That is so very important. Right? You can use garbage rate, you can use better recipe, you can use the velocity also. The main important thing is to control the conversions. Right? Gastric watch is not commonly done because you know the stimulus or stimulating the rights to the tip itself might do the conversion because it controls the conversion. Right? If it all wants to be, it has to be done with utmost caution. It has to be done with utmost caution. Right? Now, suppose if the person is in case if the person dies, why do you kind of see what are the features that we need to work on? Right? What are the features that we need to work on? Since the person is having excessive conversion, since the person is having excessive conversions of the muscle, you know, ratings already. So what happens? The diagnosis will appear early. So this is very important. Diagnosis will appear early. This is one important point. The second important point is since the person is having excessive muscle conversion, there is intensity generation in the body. You will find what is called as postmortem curiosity. I hope you remember we saw what is postmortem curiosity in paratology. The body remains long even after death, or what you do with the postmortem curiosity whenever there is excessive heat generation. Okay, whenever there is excessive heat generation, at the time of death, you see postmortem curiosity. And what I mentioned is, remember, sometimes your infection will also be delayed. Putrefaction is also delayed in the case of plasmatic capacity. Right. So these are the important features that we need to know with regard to plasmatic capacity. I would like you to have a look at this. What is the bonus, Okay. to